Let me start with something that might sound a bit counterintuitive. So, most people who come to me are not confused about their stress levels. They are very well aware of how stress is impacting their lives. The vast majority of us are not disconnected from what is happening around us. They already know they're under pressure and they already know they're struggling. And if I dig deeper, they can tell you exactly why, exactly where, who's causing it, what's causing it, etc. And yet, it doesn't seem to matter what they do, the needle doesn't move on the stress levels they're trying to manage. And that's what I want to talk about today because it's not about why the stress exists or the impacts of that stress on your life exists. It's about why understanding it often doesn't even change it. We tend to approach stress management as a cognitive problem, like it's all in our heads, right? We talk about it, we analyze it, we go to therapy, we try to reframe it through cognitive behavioral methods and so on. And that can be useful. But I found that it has its limitations because you can make sense of why you're stressed out and you can make sense of how that stress is affecting you, but it actually doesn't change the actual feelings of it in your body. Talking about it and intellectualizing it doesn't change the output or the outcome. Think about how we all know what we should be eating, what we should be doing, and yet most of us still carry extra weight and aren't at the gym as much as we should be, or maybe aren't eating as well as we should be. Knowing and doing, or knowing and feeling, are two different things. But it's really important you understand that stress responses are not initiated in the thinking part of the brain. They happen in the subcortical sections of the brain that are responsible for survival and safety, threat detection. Enter the amygdala. These systems respond far faster than conscious thought ever can, and they operate largely outside of your own awareness. This is well documented in neuroscience with respect to the amygdala, the hypothalamus, the autonomic nervous system, etc. So what this means in practical terms is that you can understand that you are safe. You can understand that things are done, the meeting's over, etc. But you can still feel really tense and really keyed up by everything that occurred to you in the last hour, the last minute, etc. This is not a contraindication, and it's certainly not a failure on your part. It's a mismatch between your insight and your physiology. Awareness tells you that something has happened or is happening, but your body doesn't change its state because of that understanding and awareness. Until that state changes, this stress loop continues to run as a program underneath everything throughout the rest of your day. This is why stress can feel really confusing to people because we as leaders in organizations, as managers, etc., we're used to solving problems with our brains. We're used to cognitively moving our way through something. When we think strategically, we're thinking with our minds. And so the first thing we do is we intellectualize everything that we're doing. We're used to using insights to drive change in organizations, for example. So we assume that the same thing's going to drive change in us. And we get frustrated when it doesn't happen. It's not personal. It's actually structural. It's biological. The second thing I want to talk about are tools that are meant to reduce stress. So many of them out there actually increase the mental load and increase the response to stress rather than reducing it. Why is that? Because when people want to reduce their stress, oftentimes what I find is people want to add things to their day. Because we're used to being productive human beings, and change or working through something means taking on things, means taking action, right? We take action through fear, that kind of thing. Well, here's the thing, is that when you're reducing stress, when you try to add things, all that does is increase the stress even further. It layers the loops, if you will, on top of each other. So what are these things? Well, they could be a practice. They could be a new routine, a new strategy that you want to take on. Again, this is logical. It seems to make sense, right? If you just apply this new stress management tool, this performance hack, won't that help me be better and less stressed as a result? We solve problems by doing things, so why wouldn't this work? But stress already reduces your capacity. That's just a fact. When relief requires more discipline or more consistency or more activities, what your nervous system does is it interprets that experience as more stress and not as supportive, but as something that is further declining your ability to adapt. It just experiences this as a new demand. When your system's already taxed, adding one more thing on top of the pile is not going to help you. So what actually supports recovery from a nervous system perspective, so it can kind of chill out, is not more effort. It's a reduction of load. So what this means is when demand drops below capacity, then your system has the ability to recalibrate. That's why short intentional pauses can do a lot more for you than these big, elaborate things that you put into place. Which brings me to a third part of this that often goes unexplained for folks. Stress needs completion. Your body requires completion, not just time away to recover. So, stress responses are designed to end. Your response to stress is supposed to be acute. It's supposed to be threat, impact. You flight, fight, fawn, freeze, you deal with the threat, and then you recover in parasympathetic nervous system through rest and digest and healing, recovery. What happens when we're constantly stressed? We're in chronic cortisol, chronic stress. There's no designed end. It's this constant looping of stress related loops and impacts. There's no downtime for your body to actually do the work of recovering and healing and resting the way it's supposed to so that it can reset itself. So historically, through movement or escape or release, you would see this resolution, this end of a stress loop. But in modern times, we all know that this is a lot harder to do because emails don't go away. Texts come in at all sorts of times a day. You have shift one at work and then shift two with your family when you come home in the evenings. And there's this sort of constant need for the body to stay ready to do whatever it needs to do. So even when you take time off, that stress response doesn't fully resolve. This is why weekends don't always feel like we are fully recalibrated before Monday morning. We come back still tired. This is why vacations feel good in the moment, but at the minute we're back in the office, within an hour, all that stress comes right back up. It's why people return rested but not grounded. Completion or full recovery requires that the body experience safety, that it is slowed down, that there's space or pause between what you were doing or the next thing that you're doing. There needs to be some, for lack of better words, flatlining of your activity and your energy levels in between so that your system has an opportunity to recover and reset itself. Without that signal, stress continues. So this is the gap I see often, right? We've got capable leaders, they're super smart, they get shit done, they're doing all the right things. They're going to therapy, they maybe have an executive coach, they have all the things, but they're still carrying all this stress that never fully releases. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because nothing is helping their system complete the cycle of stress. So I developed a small little package called Break the Stress Cycle, and it's built to address exactly this. It is intentionally short and it is intentionally simple. And it works at the level where your stress levels actually run. Not by adding more practices to manage. That's not what this program is about. It's about interrupting the loop so that it allows your body to actually fully recover, to allow the nervous system to functionally reset. If this episode resonated to you in any way, shape, or form, if it felt like it was describing something that you're experiencing, especially if you can't quite name it, but you want to explore it, then I'm going to invite you to go to executiveexhale.com/break the stress cycle. Again, this is not about fixing yourself. This is about enabling the system to finally break that stress loop and settle. That is a really great starting place for you if you're struggling right now. And if you're wondering if you might be on the verge of burnout, I'm going to invite you to check out this video on the early signs of burnout so you can do your own self-assessment. Until next time, stay grounded, stay inspired, and remember to exhale.